Well, hello, gents. It's the first time that we've all been together, like properly. Like we usually do this podcast over the internet, but here we are for the first time together for the whole bank holiday weekend. Welcome back to our listeners. It is the Shoal Weekly Podcast, Season 2, bringing you a whole new dose of film, TV, and pop culture. I'm your host, Joe, joined by Ben and Charlie this week. How are we all feeling? We've had a few bevs this afternoon.
A little bit drunk.
Yeah,
a little bit drunk.
Just a little bit.
Maybe
a lot.
Always the best way to film, to record a podcast. Not even filming it, just recording it, aren't we? As always, do be sure to follow our socials for updates and news. Please hit that notification bell. Drop us a like or a follow.
Please.
Please.
We're begging you.
We really appreciate the support. And as always, if you do have a film that you want us to talk about or break down or gas up, pop a comment in the comment section or any of our socials, and we'll be sure to get it on the list. But of course, to kick season 2 off, we did start with Spirited Away. That was quite a popular podcast. We had some good feedback for that one. And then last week, our resident devil's advocate comic book film hater
from Manchester
with the thick money accent was away. So Ben and I took the opportunity
Thank God.
Yeah, we talked about the MCU for an hour and 20 minutes. So do go check out those episodes if you can. Yeah. This week we decided, since we're all together and we're having a laugh and having a few bevs, that we were going to watch none other than Tommy Wiseau's The Room from 2003. And we literally just finished it all together about 10 minutes ago. And here we are in the next room, sat around our laptops with our microphones, thinking about what the hell to talk about.
I think there's a lot of regret on Ben's face.
There is, yeah.
Regrets, fam. So many regrets. What an absolute waste of 90 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
I will never recover that time or that energy.
So just out of context, again, we are together for the weekend for the first time, and I kind of had the idea that if we were going to be having a few drinks, that we wouldn't really want to watch an overly long, deep film, nor do an overly long podcast about said film. So I thought, how do we marry up a weekend of beverages with a film and a podcast? And I thought, let's do The Room. And I was actually really surprised that you had never really heard of it, Ben.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd seen all the publicity for The Disaster Artist, which was the biopic, which basically was a film about the film that James Franco did. When was it? That was 3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
3 years ago, before James Franco got cancelled. And
did he get cancelled?
Yeah, recently.
What for?
Was it sexual misconduct or something? Or...
Yeah, I think it was inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace. I don't think he was kind of assaulting anyone. I don't think there's anything. I think it was just in the workplace.
I know Seth Rogen openly said that he
said he's never going to work with him again,
which is big for them because they're like
best mates.
That's just like me and you saying we're never going to do a podcast together because.
I mean, it's a weird one because he's not like it's a classic. He's still innocent. You know, he's not been proven guilty.
Yeah.
But he's just been tainted by those allegations, and so everyone that he's worked with has dropped him. He's
been tainted by Tommy Wiseau, is what he's been tainted by.
Yeah, there's a lot of tainting going on.
It's a disaster
with The Room.
Disaster artist.
Before we get onto the film, what have we had any time to watch anything else this week that's of note?
Ben's still watching The Witches show.
No, that's on a break.
Oh no, he's rewatched Avatar then.
We're waiting for season 3. No, I'm watching Castle season 2, which is something I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, or last week anyway. And it's really good. I would thoroughly recommend. I've got my parents onto it; they're absolutely hooked. So I don't know if that's like definitely in my eyes that makes it better. But I mean, that might make it worse for some people.
The direct correlation between how good a show is how many people you've gotten hooked on the show.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like keep a body count. You guys are next, FYI.
Same body count and saying you guys are next is not a good thing to say. Chaz, what have you watched this week?
I watched the Friends reunion.
Oh yeah,
which is absolute trash.
Let's talk about that for a minute because I watched it yesterday, day before.
It's just shit, isn't it?
It was trash.
Yeah, like
it
it's
was really
awful.
trash.
Got a hell of a lot of stick for not having any people of color or kind of any diversity in it, didn't it?
Well, that was Friends
like the
anyway,
original show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know, but then it was like 2021 Friends was meant to be kind of woker, and it wasn't.
Woker.
That's a word.
It is.
Well, I mean, just straight off the bat, it was good to see the cast like back together. There was obviously that huge sense of nostalgia.
Yeah,
but
it wears off quickly.
It wore off so quickly. The only bit that I again was quite hooked with is when Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer were admitting that they had a crush on each other during season 1, which was it was huge. It was news. Like me and my girlfriend were both like, "What? That's crazy!" So the kiss that they have at the start of season 2, the big like kiss outside the cafe, that was very real to both of them apparently, because that was their first kiss ever, and of course it was in front of millions of people. So that was a good part of the show. But then it
wasn't much else that was revealing, really.
I didn't give a shit about James Corden.
Why was he there?
Why was he there?
And Lady Gaga. What the fuck was that about?
I really hated that a bit because
it's cringy as fuck.
It was really cringy, and Lisa Kudrow can't play the guitar. We get that.
We
get that she can't play, but that's the charm of Phoebe. That's why it's funny. So she's singing Smelly Cat in Central Perk, and then Lady Gaga comes along with her guitar and sings it like she's in bloody A Star Is Born.
But then, like, she doesn't even do the joke right at the end about her, like, oh, that's not how you play it. It just sort of, it all fell dead.
Yeah.
What about Justin Bieber? How was he?
He was in it for like 2 seconds. he just catwalks as the Sputnik potato costume.
There's so many, like, David Beckham's in it.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Kit Harington, Cara Delevingne, all of these celebrities that have been so impacted by the show were there to talk about it, and that's not why I was there as a lover of Friends. Like, you don't like go and watch people play Call of Duty, like the old Call of Duty games for that nostalgia feel, and then have the creator of like Mario Kart talking about how influential the game. It's just complete. Yeah,
100%.
But it was clearly like a cash grab for a lot of famous people.
I just want an updated episode of where they are now. That's all I want.
Like, would you want to see that?
A scripted episode of like maybe they go back for like Ben's wedding or something, and that's it. That's all I want. Just like an update of where they are.
Right. Okay.
And what he had was just crap.
I feel like I really agree with Lisa Kudrow at the end of the episode where James Corden obviously asks that big question, like, would you do another episode? And she just goes, no. Like, before any of the other cast like can answer, like, she's just like, no, I wouldn't, because
it ends really well. The original
show ends phenomenally, and why would you taint that? Why would you ruin that kind of that close? Because you get so much closure if you watch episode 1, season 1, all the way to the end of 10 years worth of TV, and you get to the end. Then why would you want more? I guess so. I think I agree with Lisa Kudrow in that.
It's an interesting question, like, because when you think about Game of Thrones, just to kind of like draw a comparison to another TV show, it kind of went on for 8 years or 6 years, whatever. It was 8 years, wasn't it? Kind of went on for a long time, and then everyone was like really, really upset that it ended in the way it did, and the fact that it was over, and it was like that was it. But it's like, and the fact that this Friends reunion has had so much like demand, it's like, well, it's done. It's it's been on for so long. Like, what more do you want? It can't be on forever. It'll just turn into like, what is it?
NCIS.
Yeah, like CS, and then there's like spin-offs. And it's like NCIS Los Angeles, NCIS
Miami.
Yeah, it's just like there's so many different spin-offs of the same show, and it's just like it can't be decent.
Like 24, which the final season of 24 was 12 episodes, not 24 episodes. 12 times 2.
Yeah.
12 divided by 2.
Let a good thing just rest. Let it die.
Yeah. No, so I think I agree. I think, a lot of closure would have to be unraveled for there to be an interesting Friends scripted reunion.
It's really like, the Gavin and Stacey thing they did.
Yeah.
Was it last year or the year before? And it's just like, well, that didn't. It was all right, but at the end of that series had a real closure to it. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Well, it's nostalgia, isn't it? And
yeah,
we're definitely in the age of nostalgia. So many video games are getting remastered, and things like like we talked about last week, the MCU. The MCU is kind of a strange one because it's an ongoing thing, but at the same time, the MCU becomes quite nostalgic.
It's old enough now to have.
It's old enough to have kind of like a meta nostalgia.
Yeah.
Of itself,
and particularly with the comic books, I suppose. If
exactly,
you like those,
and then every TV show is getting additional seasons or reunions. Twin Peaks got a limited revival.
and a
The
film.
X-Files did. I can think of Breaking Bad got El Camino.
Yeah, and Better Call Saul.
Yeah, everything has to be a franchise now. Everything,
which sucks.
Yeah, like this morning, I read that Joker is getting a sequel. Todd Phillips is writing the script. Like, why does it have to be a franchise? That film is so good on its own. Like Taxi Driver.
Well, I mean, Joker in itself is just like. I mean, I think everyone since like Heath Ledger's Joker, it's always been like, oh, we need a really good Joker. We need a Joker that's like better than that. We need a Joker that's as good as that. It's like, I mean, A, are you gonna get that? Probably not. B, like, do we need to? Like, there's so many other villains. Like, there's so many other things. There's so many other storylines that we've not even touched yet. Like, just go do some of them.
And also, like, just appreciate that performance. Like, you don't have to beat that performance. Like, it's just a good performance.
It's like Jared Leto sending condoms to people. Yeah, great. Just what we needed.
He sent like a dead rat to someone.
Yeah, and he sent like condoms and stuff through the mail to like all the other cast of Suicide Squad.
What?
That's reminded me of something recently. Are any of you familiar with Jim Carrey and his role? He was in a film called Man on the Moon back in the 90s. So there was a very famous comedian called Andy Kaufman who was very active, like 70s and 80s, I think. Right. And he was this sort of method comedian where he, kind of like Sacha Baron Cohen, he did stand up as himself, but he also had caricatures that he played. And so Jim Carrey did a biopic where he plays Andy Kaufman.
Right.
And he method acted the whole thing to the point where he was turning up to Hollywood parties with, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Julia Roberts as Andy Kaufman. And a few times, he was removed by the police because he would turn up as Andy Kaufman, as one of Andy Kaufman's caricatures, causing a ruckus,
right.
making people feel uncomfortable. And so for a good 12 months of his life, he said he'd lost his way. He completely lost his way. And so on that whole method acting thing, and extreme performances, Jared Leto trying to send dead rats and condoms to his co-workers. Recently, Martin Freeman of Sherlock and Black Panther said that it's ridiculous and it's narcissistic. So he called out Jim Carrey for being narcissistic, and that was last week, I think.
I can see both sides of this.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like sending dead rats and stuff, or even Brando does it, doesn't he? Like lives the role or whatever.
Well, did it?
Well, all right. Yeah.
Doesn't do it now, does he?
Yeah. But I don't think you need to go that in depth to be a good actor. I think that's just pretentious as fuck, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of research makes you a good actor. Like, look at Daniel Day-Lewis. He doesn't necessarily method act, but he does a lot of research. Like when he was in The Crucible by Arthur Miller, he went and lived with Amish people for about 4 or 5 months. He experienced that kind of new settler life in a new land, and that made his performance fantastic. He had the research there. And I think I agree with you. There's two sides to both story. And if you want to watch, I really recommend a documentary. I think it's called The Life Beyond. And it's about Jim Carrey's performance as Andy Kaufman.
Cool.
Because Warner Brothers refused to release any of the behind the scenes footage for that film because they were worried they were going to get sued.
Right.
And honestly, some of the weirdest behind the scenes footage, there's a bit in the documentary where Andy Kaufman, who was dead at this point, he had died quite young. His daughter came to the set Andy Kaufman's real daughter came to the set just to just get a feel for this film was honoring her dad, so of course she would come down to the set to see what was going on. And Jim Carrey turns up in character because he's method acting. And but you would think yikes, but the daughter actually said that it was like talking to her dad and that she really liked it.
Oh wow!
So it's like a form of therapy.
Yes,
so she's got some real daddy issues.
Yeah,
then.
so well, yeah. but in the
Charles got a chance.
In the documentary, you see her going into his trailer and not coming out for like a good hour. And when she comes out, she's just looking so kind of euphoric, and she says that I just feel like I spoke to my dad for like an hour.
Wow.
I mean, like I know, you kind of said, and it's a little narcissistic, but on another level, how insane is that somebody's able to like go to such a length that they've essentially impersonated somebody else so well that like a grieving relative is like completely like not fooled, but like kind of their mind is just kind of led to believe, that is the person that they knew. Like, how insane is that? That's just like on another like plane.
It's like putting on a set of VR goggles and like having an AI talk to you. Like, is this the other person?
Yeah. I mean, it's just nuts. It's definitely. I mean, it's definitely like a pinnacle of acting, and kind of just like you've completely fooled everyone.
Do you know what's not a pinnacle of acting, Ben?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. We are meant to be talking about it. I can 100% guarantee that the pinnacle of acting is not The Room.
Do you think Tommy Wiseau method acted it?
No, I really don't.
No.
So just for
hiya, Mark.
a bit of context for our listeners, The Room is a 2003 drama film. Directed.
It's a loose term.
Directed, written, produced, line produced, executive produced. Scripted, cinematography, but all by Tommy Wiseau. Is a Polish American actor.
He's a Polish auteur. I'll have you know.
Polish auteur. Are we using auteur?
Yeah, we go for auteur.
So the basic story of The Room is
there isn't one.
Well, yeah. First, so Tommy plays this character called Johnny. He's a banker living in San Francisco with his fiance.
You have to guess that, by the way.
Yeah, you really have to guess everything. And the fiance is she's committing infidelity.
You're putting if you this is better than the film. Like, don't watch the film, just listen to Joe describe
the film. So she is cheating on Johnny with his best friend Mark, and basically nothing really happens in the film. There's a little bit of like
there's a lot of sex in the film.
Sex is a loose term.
Rubbing against each other.
Within the first half an hour of the film, there are 3 overly long, almost like Pornhub music videos but there's no sex. Like, it's not it's not very explicit apart from perhaps
his
a nipple and a butt, but it's
a chab.
There's no please. But no, there's no kind of explicit pornographic content at all. It's just,
thank God,
there's just a lot of rubbing to the sound of music for about. So anyway, there's 3 of those within the first half an hour of the film. One of them is with Mark, and 2 of them are with Johnny. So the fiance. Within the first half an hour of the film.
Ladies, take your pick.
Take your pick.
And it's technically only 2 scenes because one of them is just copy pasted.
Yeah. I think the third sex scene is outtakes of the first one between Johnny and Lisa.
Yeah.
So anyway, nothing really happens in the film. There's like a weird subplot of this other kid who lives in the apartment block called Denny. Total creep, by the way.
And also, what a weird name.
Denny, yeah. And he gets involved with some drug dealer who magically goes to prison.
In about 20 seconds.
Yeah, we never see him again. And the film basically ends with Johnny's birthday party. It's a few weeks before he and Lisa are destined to be married, and it just very dramatically out of nowhere just slips out that she's cheating on Johnny. Johnny finds out. He and Mark have a little scuffle.
Hang on, whoa, take it back. he weirdly finds out she's like grinding up on this dude, like in the birthday party.
There's that
And he's
sensational moment where they're like, everyone, let's go outside and get some fresh air.
And everyone leaves.
Everyone leaves apart from Lisa and Mark.
She's like, I'm going to sit on your lap.
That's good at the end.
Yeah, damn it.
And yeah, so Johnny finds out. He very calmly destroys his apartment. He's making a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger noises, and he's very slowly and almost like he's been recorded in slow motion.
Tearing me apart.
And it ends with he just pulls out a an M95 and just shoots himself in the face.
In fairness to them, he did take that gun off the drug dealer that was threatening Denny.
Mm.
So there was a bit of continuity.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I just thought it was a wild
So when he took the gun and the criminal to the police station within that 20-second window, he was like, "Oh no, I'm going to keep this gun, okay?"
The police didn't seize the gun from him.
Yeah.
Evidence.
They're like, "Oh no, you can keep that one. Well done." It's a participation medal for
like a bounty.
Have that one for free, pal.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the whole film. And on paper, it's not a terrible story. There have been worse stories in cinema.
It's a bit shit, but I'd watch it
if it was done well.
Yeah.
The trade-off and the reason why, this film came out in 2003, the internet was still relatively young, and memes were, but an idea in the mind of someone. So with the sort of invention of like Vine and meme culture in general, 10 years ago, the film found a lot of popularity on YouTube. Like the clips started to surface.
I wonder why.
To be fair, to the credit of the film, it's now gained a cult status, which is why this is the whole reason why we're watching it today. This is the whole reason why we've heard about it. Even Tommy Wiseau was at the Prince Charles Cinema in London like 2 years ago.
I think that's pretty much how he makes his living. Surely, is
just
on the back of this film.
I mean, the royalties from like the Disaster Artist must be pretty chunky as well.
That's true.
Like from his image is his like artistic material, isn't it? He has the right to charge for it, which is I shudder to think that you actually could charge for it, because it is that bad.
Speaking of artistic material,
yes, I was going to ask you this. You've been talking about this for like the past 2 days, and you do firmly believe that it is meta, like you think it's self-aware.
I'm convinced that he wrote it with the intention of it.
I mean, there's a couple of suspicious characters, like namely the mother.
The mother,
she's like proper third, like breaking the fourth wall style.
Fuck you,
mother. Yeah, she like breaks the fourth wall, kind of like. Well, not quite, but she like kind of does. She's like, and it's just like
there's a moment where there's two people come through the front door, and by the way, we have no contextual information about these characters. They just come in through Johnny's front door without a key. The door's not locked. They come in. They have oral sex. The guy makes some very strange faces. Then the mum and Lisa come in, and the mum is like, "Who are these characters?
Like, what are these characters doing here?"
Yeah. And she actually says the word characters, which is so strange.
Unless he is literally like a GCSE film student, there's no chance you're making that mistake.
Yeah, it's almost as if like they're like it's somebody's gone right 3, 2, 1 action. They've walked on the set and there's just like a bunch of actors just sitting there.
Do you think he set out to make the best worst movie?
Oh, I don't know.
Do you think?
No, I think he set out to make a film where he highlights how boring narratives can be, and that like he's just.
I think you're giving him a lot of credit.
No, I think he's like he said that this is like how boring can I make a narrative and people still watch it.
But how many
like
people
when
have really
Kanye West
watched it?
did that? Did he scoop?
Yeah, like that's not music, but like I still listen to it. Like maybe that's just me being stupid.
Kanye West releases a song that is essentially 95% just another song that he is not singing, and then he comes in at the end and just starts going, "Whoop did he scoop?"
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a banger,
Yeah, but Kanye West, I mean, he's had his own demons, hasn't he? So it's like, did he intend to do that? Maybe not.
God told him to do it.
Yeah. Sunday school.
Well,
Sunday sessions, isn't that what it's called? Sunday sessions.
Yeah,
he thinks he does. It's like proper like cult vibes.
Well, to get through the room, we, as I said at the start of the podcast, we decided to have a few bevs. We actually did do a drinking game which wasn't as brutal as I thought it was. It's hard in the first 20 minutes.
I mean, in the end, let's face it, we just carried on drinking. Didn't matter what was on screen. Let's just drink to make it go away because
Kebs, drink.
on the sofa, it was Ben, me, and then Charlie, and Charlie and I stayed upright for the whole film having a drink. And every 10 minutes, I would look at Ben, and he would just get a little bit lower and a little bit lower, and then by the end of the film, he was just completely horizontal with a bottle of Peroni in his hand. Just I mean, look at him right now.
I mean, I'm not being funny, but if there was no chance of me being asked questions, I would have fallen asleep. I stayed awake just so I could answer any question you might have, just to quiz me.
I implore the dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't require
in scene 5, what was the third line said by Tommy?
Probably, "Oh, hi,
Mark."
Yeah.
Yeah. So the drinking.
Spoiler alert! That's about every other line. Oh, hi.
The drinking game that we did, we had to drink every time someone said. "Oh, hi," followed by a character name. We had to drink every time someone comes through Johnny's front door, which is a lot. We had to drink every time that there was some kind of denial or dismissal of a conversation. Like, there's a lot of times where characters are starting to talk about interesting contextual stuff, and another character just goes,
"I don't want to
talk about this."
I mean, it's better than what we found out in the second half of the film, where there's just suddenly this random conversation between a couple of characters, and it turns out that the fiance, like the second main character, is just like, "Oh yeah, I'm pregnant," but she's not pregnant. But then we know she's not pregnant.
Who was the guy in the second half? We didn't even get his character name.
It's
he
just
was
like this
just like,
character's
"Lisa, you
introduced.
need to stop cheating
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Johnny. Whose baby is it?" And we were like, "What?
Who are
Like,
you, bro?
Who are you? What do you mean, baby?"
Yeah, like, you're bringing the friendship group down. Like, what friendship group? You just like,
We're like,
break
"We
into
need a friendship group."
yeah, you just break into each other's houses and just
Yeah.
like,
Chat shit.
yeah, get your chebs out. Just like, what the fuck? It's so messed up. So basically, anyway, to our avid listeners, the long story short is, please do not watch this film. Do not do it. It's a disaster.
Artist.
Start to finish.
Hey.
Who do you think the best actor was in the film? 'Cause
Definitely the mother.
Do you think so?
The therapist guy isn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
the
it
pair of them
Peter?
actually have a little bit of range in their voice. They're not monotone, and they don't deliver their
Yeah.
lines like immediately. It's like syllable after syllable.
Mark was okay as well. He was okay.
Yeah, but his character was so badly written, it was just ridiculous.
And Lisa was okay as well, but again, her character was really badly written.
Like, at least 50% of the time she was naked, which, kind of, directed by Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah. There's a lot of gratuitous stuff in the film, and there's a lot of misogynistic jokes as well. And so it's very outdated. And
if you want a film that supports the vision that the male should uphold the female and financially provide for them, then Grandma's for you.
That was such a funny moment in the film where, throughout the film, and additionally, this was another drinking rule as well. We had to drink every time that Lisa and her mother had a deep, meaningful chat. And one of the really funny ones was when the mother is like, "Oh, well, I didn't love your father either, but I stayed with him, because he financially supported me." And Lisa was like, "You bitch, how dare you? Like, how dare you? You never told me that about Dad. I never knew you didn't love him." And we're just sat there like, you're trying to convince your mother that you don't love Johnny and that you want to leave him and that you don't love him, even though he financially supports you. She's such a hypocrite.
One of the funniest bits that isn't, like, the subject matter isn't funny at all, but the mum is just like talking, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, and I'm dying," and then you just don't really hear about it again.
And then it's like,
and it's
I've
just
had a
so
test.
matter of fact. Yeah,
It's like, I've got breast cancer. And it's like, whoa.
Well, like, where's that come from?
So just for the record, like, it's a very serious thing, and we're not laughing at breast cancer.
Her delivery is unreal.
It's just ridiculous.
It unintentionally makes very serious things hilarious in a very bad way. Obviously, the first one, is that the mum has breast cancer, but it's only mentioned in 2 lines,
and
it's
you
such
never hear of it again.
It's a throwaway comment.
Is so unconcerned.
Yeah.
It's like there is no empathy.
She just goes, well, anyway, I have breast cancer.
I don't want to talk about this right now.
And I don't want to talk about it. And I'm fine. I'm fine.
That's the line. It's like, I'm fine, by the way. Like, you don't have to.
And the other side of the conversation is this mum talking about how she doesn't want to give her brother any money. And it's just like, no, it's my house. We verbally agreed on 15 years ago. It's like, hang on a second.
And then there's a moment in the film where Lisa tries to get Johnny very drunk, which is a strange moment to me because Johnny happily drinks.
And also explain the drink that they're drinking.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But he happily drinks, and then the next scene establishes some kind of contextual information that Johnny doesn't drink.
Yeah,
and that he's sober.
Well, he doesn't happily drink. He says, "No, I don't want to drink that." I mean, I don't know who would want to drink that anyway. It was like a whiskey vodka mix. But she's like, "If you love me, you'll drink." It's like red flags, red flags.
If I was with my partner of 5 years, who
like 7,
who I knew so well. Like, I know her so well, and we always drink wine with dinner, and we don't drink that kind of stuff. If she just hands me a glass that's pretty much like a mid-sized tumbler full of 50% whiskey and 50% vodka and goes, "Here, babe, you've had a long day. Drink this," I would be like, "What have you put in that?"
There's definitely some like sleeping pill or something in it. Like, it's dodgy, man.
It is, yeah.
Like that's the thing with the film, right? It's so extreme in every single possibility.
Yeah.
Like if you come home from work, you're never just going to have vodka and whiskey mix, are you?
Yeah, please drink responsibly.
Unlike us.
Just a few units a day.
Yeah.
few units. No! A few units a day to keep the doctors away.
That was fantastic.
You could have done that better. That should be an anti-drinking campaign. Just Ben doing that.
Yeah. For your information, this is a public health warning.
So out of 10 possible stars, what would you give?
-5.
Out of 10 marks.
0. It doesn't get a mark.
High 0 marks.
I'll tell you what. They get a mark for actually recording and pressing the record button.
Yeah,
knowing how to do that.
Yeah, for knowing how to operate the camera equipment and the inconsistency that they managed to do that. But anyway, nothing. It doesn't even rank on a scale for me.
The only moment in the film that was sort of okay in editing was when Johnny was about to shoot himself. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
You've already said that he killed himself.
When Johnny is about to shoot himself and he's having flashbacks to like his
all the sex scenes.
And regardless of the context, that's quite well edited.
Yeah. It's also a red sign. It's like a massive red flag of just like, why are you in this relationship and why does it mean so much to you? Just like sex scenes. Like,
let's talk about Tommy Wiseau for a second, because
what a guy.
We said a lot, his involvement in the film. He does play Johnny. He is the main character and
the writer and the producer.
And everything. So for listeners at home who haven't actually watched the film or don't know what this guy looks like, he's this 6'1"
ripped. Absolutely.
He's like Tarzan with black hair.
He is honestly so ripped.
He's got this really long black hair that literally goes down to his pecs, but it's so greasy and black.
What pecs they are, boys.
Yeah, he's so ripped. He's such a square. Like when he gets up from the sex scene and he goes to the bathroom.
He's just got like a plank of wood or something.
He's a 4x4. Like he's a 4x2. There you go. 2x4.
Solo levels.
Yeah. He is so ripped, but he's a character like facially. Like he's so unanimated.
I think you said wooden, Ben, when we first started watching it.
Yeah.
I think
it's like John Travolta, but just like pumped full of Botox and foreign. Like,
yeah. So he doesn't really have any concept of line delivery or pacing. So there's a really funny scene where he goes to a cafe with Mark, and Mark asks him how's work going, and Johnny just replies with, "Oh yeah, work is good. We have a client." And then Mark goes, "Oh yeah, who's the client?" And he was like, "Oh, I can't tell you. It's confidential. But we're making a lot of money anyway. How's your sex life?" And there's just no pause.
Like
It's like he wrote the script without any full stops. No full stops at all. It's like he didn't even put spaces in for the action or character names. He just that's why he says "Oh hi, Mark" all the time, because actually the line is supposed to be "Oh hi," and then Mark is like underneath, but there's no space on the script, so it's just block text. It's just block text.
So my question is, if he came to you with that script and was like, "Help me make this film," what would you say? Would you say no, or would you be like, "Yeah, this is a bit of a meme. This is a bit of a joke"? Would you take it on or not? Because that's what he did with the guy who plays Mark, didn't he? Didn't he help him make it?
Yeah.
From what
So
I've seen in the
Greg
Disaster Artist.
Sestero, they have recently gone on to do, and I think again piggybacking off the success of the Disaster Artist, they have done another film called Best Friends, which apparently is just as bad. Which at this point you think to yourself,
You'd hope so, yeah.
You would think to yourself like, they watched the Disaster Artist, right? They know how much this film is, and film culture in general is taking the piss. So I don't know. I'm in two minds about it. I think I would say no, just because I feel like anyone involved in that film does not have a career anymore.
Yeah, well, apart from Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, but again, it's a retrospective career, isn't it? Like his whole career is I made The Room, and that's it.
Do you know? I'd be, if that was my career, though, I think I'd be a bit buzzing.
Yeah,
yeah. Like he's made now. He's probably loaded. And like
you've dropped self-respect there somewhere.
That was savage. Yeah, it's like,
come on, he's going to be minted. It's
so delayed success, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be that minted. We streamed it. So, I
mean, no, we paid for it.
We paid for it, definitely, from a super official source. We can't tell you about
from
it.
Tommy Wiseau himself.
Yeah. What was quite funny is
he emailed us a copy.
What was quite funny is that I feel like we would have done the film justice watching it on our phones, or at least on a laptop at most. But here in Casa del Ben, we decided to watch it on his home cinema. And I just think, we're here for the weekend.
Could have watched any film.
We could watch any film on, 5.1 surround, and we decide to watch The Room.
But
never again.
How good did those exterior shots of San Francisco look on there, though?
Was that where it was set?
I couldn't tell where it was.
Oh, sorry, no, wait, and I've got that wrong. No, it's got a big bridge.
I thought I saw the Golden Gate Bridge for like a second, but I'm not sure.
I think that was in a
So just for another little warning for our viewers here, we are totally gaslighting you. There are so many shots of San Francisco, it's ridiculous. There's about 10 minutes of screen time dedicated to landscape pan shots of San Francisco.
Like the first 10 minutes is just exterior.
How many minutes of the film do you think are sex scenes and San Francisco?
Do you know the answer to this?
No, I don't.
It's got to be 40 minutes.
I reckon it's going to be at least like 40%, 50%.
Really?
Yeah, I reckon so.
30 minutes minimum.
Surely.
Like, again, looking back at Friends, when you used to watch Friends and like they would end a scene, then you'd hear a guitar riff and it would be an exterior shot of New York.
Yeah.
Imagine, so for our viewers, for our listeners, imagine that,
Yeah.
but with no guitar and about 10 times more exterior shots of the city that they're in. It's just awful.
It's no guitar, and well, I said when we were watching it that the soundtrack was probably one of the better aspects of it,
and it's terrible.
Yeah, but like it's like 10 times the amount of shots of.
Yeah, it's one of the best parts for sure. Yeah, the soundtrack
there's no script.
Yeah.
There's no time delivery.
Do you know what the soundtrack really reminds me of? Like any kind of Japanese video game, like Final Fantasy or Soul Calibur, just a few strings, a few kind of like upbeat Zelda motifs, and that's it.
But they're reused, like overly reused. They're like excessive.
Yeah. It's just like whenever there's like a slight dip, shoving.
And then for any sex scene in the film, it's like brazzers. Like straight away.
Like one interesting point you made, Ben, when we were watching it was there was a scene where I think it was Mark and Lisa, and they were saying about the sexy I think Mark says about the sexy music, but it's like diegetic music, but it's actually the soundtrack. This is what I mean. It's so meta in parts.
He like totally broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
He was like, so you've lit the candles and you've played the music, and it's like she didn't play music.
Yeah.
Music just like turned on. Like,
Yeah.
it was just like now a soundtrack. It was just like, and then they had sex on the stairs, but they didn't have sex.
Just rubbed against each other.
Yeah, just like gyrated on each other, just really slowly.
That's such a good
I have a theory between the two extremes of what you're both saying is that
what between it's high art and it's absolute
yeah, so I have an in between for you. So I think that the film was absolute dog shit while they were recording it and editing it, and they realized it was so bad. So that's why I think there's so much dub in the film, because they had to go back and
we should probably mention that.
Yeah.
So basically, as you're watching it visually on screen, none of their mouths actually make any of the words that you hear, and there's actually bits where you see them open their mouth, say a word, then close their mouths, like they finish their sentence, but there's still audio from things they're saying. It's a very weird and discombobulating experience.
The notable one is where Johnny walks into a florist.
Yeah, that's the
and
most
he
notable.
opens his mouth.
Good doggy.
He opens his mouth once, and you can lip read, and you can tell that he walks in the flower store silent. He just takes flowers to the desk, silent. He pays, and the only thing he says with his lips is like thanks, and walks out. What does the dub do? Walks in. Oh, hi. And then the florist is like, oh, hi, Johnny, you're my favorite customer. He's like, oh, hi. I didn't recognize you.
All that's different is you got sunglasses on.
He goes, and then he's like, okay, thank you. Puts the money down. And there's a dog. There's his pug sat on the counter. And he's like, oh, hi, doggy. And you're my favorite. Yeah, and then he just walks out. There's so much dub without his mouth open. But
yeah, so strange.
What I was trying to say is I think that in post-production, they realized that there was they realized there was no salvaging the film. So they were, on your vein of thought, I think at that point they were like, well, let's just lead
invented memes before.
Let's just lead into it being shit. Let's just make something bad. Because it's harder to make something bad than you think.
Oh, that's what, like, you try and make a bad
film. So bad that it's good.
Well, like, it's hard. Like, when you make something, you try and make it the best it is.
I just think when you're in that industry, purposefully trying to make something that's not good, isn't that?
Well, getting actors on board to make something that's bad,
anyway,
is hard, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's just bad.
So, is The Room high art or is it a low fart?
It's a low fart.
We'll leave that answer to our listeners, but I think.
God, I can't wait for next week.
Well,
actually have a
The Room 2.
Oh no!
Brie Larson.
Well, do let us know in the comments if you want us to check out The Disaster Artist. I haven't seen it myself. Have you seen it?
Yeah, man, I've seen it.
Is it good?
Do you know, it's probably better than The Room. Then you've got to have the context of The Room to enjoy it, I think.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, let us know in the comments if you want us to check out that film. Ben is shaking his head furiously right now.
I think you'll like it, man. I think you'll like it.
Make us watch it.
But, I mean, I know this has sounded like a pretty generic podcast, but we really appreciate you checking in on this one because, again, this one's quite special to us because it's the first time we've been together, all three, in the same room. So the energy's been good this week. And, what are we doing next week? Have we decided yet?
I don't know. Do we want to do the Pursuit of Love, or we're not doing that?
Pursuit of Love, yeah.
Pursuit of Love.
Yeah, you can check it out.
Well sold. Very well sold.
So The Pursuit of Love is a 3-part drama. You can currently check it out on BBC iPlayer. Ignore those guys. Ignore those two. Pursuit of Love, BBC iPlayer. Is it a BBC 3 production?
No, I think it was BBC One.
BBC One, okay.
It's got Lily James in it, so.
Lovely. You can check that out on BBC iPlayer now. And we're going to talk about that next week. Thanks for checking in, and we will be back next week. This has been Joe, Ben, and Charlie from the Shoal Weekly Podcast. Do be sure to hit the notifications, give us a like and a follow on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, wherever you can find us. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. But until next week, take care. Bye-bye.
We shall show you next time.
Oh, fuck off.
She's like, I'm gonna sit on your lap.